Okay, good day everyone, and welcome to another session on the in the Excel learning community. So today we're going to take a soft skill session, and today we're going to be talking about workplace ethics. So our guest speaker is going to be Ibilolia, and the Excel learning community is being brought to you by UrBizEdge. UrBizEdge is a Microsoft Excel consulting, financial modeling, business intelligence, data analyst, and enterprise solution firm in Nigeria. They specialize in helping companies and professionals be on top of their business data. They're also one of the developers of the Nigeria Financial Market Analyst tool, which is available on the Microsoft Office store. And this is the training for the upcoming training calendar happening this week. So today, our guest speaker is Emilola, and Emilola is a pharmacist. She's also a medical chemist. She's also a Microsoft Certified Data Analyst with a research-oriented goal. So she's that data analyst in the health tech industry. So, and again, she also works with real-world data modeling analysis to create insights in the data in decision making in the healthcare industry. And she also provides a lot of technical tools like Microsoft Excel, Power BI, Python, SQL, even Tableau. And she's interested in research and development with a keen interest in computer-aided drug design. So, hello everyone. Hello, Minola.
Hi, thank you, Fanny, for that introduction. So I knew you were going to do justice to it. So I didn't bother putting
Your
up
introduction.
any slide
Introduction.
that talks about me.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so it's safe to say if I or Benny, as I like to call him, has seen
Introduce.
me through my journey, like right from start to where I am right now. So it was a big honor to um when he actually reached out to me concerning this. It was like my oga coming to me and said, I've seen you grow. Will you come and share your thoughts on this? And I like the fact that he didn't want me to do anything technical, because there are a lot of people who put out informations on technical tools. I'm also one of those people though who talk about technical tools, but very few people talk about those soft skills that keeps you employed, right? Whether you are in, I'm so sorry about the background noise because I just had to still take this thing. Today's my mom's Thanksgiving, so I'm still in her house. I had to find a like very quiet place to stay and take up this meeting today. So sorry about
Sorry.
any background sound you get to hear. All right. So yeah, when we talk about using technical tools, those shiny tools that we all know about, like for whether you are a data analyst, whether you're a software engineer, so many people get to forget that there are soft skills that will keep you employed, whether you are doing freelancing or you're working in an organized institution or the corporate world and all of that. So I really like the fact that I have to talk about workplace ethics, and I am going to, as much as possible, try to do justice to it. At least I used to work in the government sector, but currently working in the private sector. So I've been able to compare and contrast the different kinds of work ethics that happen in both institutions. In the government sector, work ethics is on paper, while in the private sector, work ethics is something you walk. It goes beyond the paper guidelines. You walk it, and you act it literally. So I'm not much of a long presentation person, so I just hope you guys get enough from this. So let's go, like, dive in. All right. So I looked at what is ethics. Starting from there, we're going to also talk about workplace ethics and the importance of it. It's then the contributors. The company has its own contribution to ensuring there's ethics in the workplace. The employee also has their own contribution to ensure that there's ethics in the workplace. But many people feel like workplace ethics just has to do with the employer, the organization putting down guidelines on a book, and employees just have to follow it. Well, without the right mindset or employees understanding their obligations to ensuring that work ethics is being followed through in the workplace ethics will not stand, and you'll find out that the organization will just disintegrate into a past, like it used to be there and then it is no longer there. So we're also going to talk about the types of ethics in the workplace also. So diving down, right, I have this little thing here that says right doing, wrong doing, So ethics is that keeper in between right doing and wrong doing. So at this point here, right, this place here, there's nothing written there, but this is where ethics stands. So it's that
Your screen is not shared.
really.
Yeah, your screen was not. It's not shared. So maybe.
What did I share before? Okay, let me start. Let me reshare again.
Yeah.
Oops, apologies.
Okay. Yes, your screen is shared now.
Okay, can you see the next? Can you see this?
Yes, I can see it now. Content right now. Yeah.
All right.
Ethics.
Okay, so I'll just go back to where I was. So apologies for that, right? So I broke it down into three. What is ethics, contributors to ethics in the workplace, and types of ethics in the workplace, with the other subheadings. Like I had already explained, if you're looking at the contributors to ethics, we have the company's obligation as well as the employee's contribution to workplace ethics. And we're going to also look at work ethics traits, all right, in the company. So I was talking about this little picture I put out here, right? That says right doing and wrong doing. So ethics comes in between these two, right? So it's like that conjunction in between two words that shows you that you're either doing the right thing or you're doing the wrong thing. So ethics is that what's that one now? That's your inner man, or I don't want to use inner man so I don't sound like a pastor, even if it's a Sunday. That inner conviction you have to tell you, are you doing the right thing or are you doing the wrong thing? So ethics is that sensor, that beeper that comes in place to talk about, to prick your conscience when you are carrying out any process. So before we talk about workplace ethics, what is ethics? They are just plain moral principles that governs a pattern of behavior or activity. So there's ethics everywhere. As an individual, you have those moral principles that govern your day-to-day activity, how you interact with people, and how you live your life, things you can do and things you cannot do. So those are your it's easy to just use the word moral principles, but that's you being ethical in whatever criteria you want to look at it as a human being. So since ethics is like, work moral principles. So what's workplace ethics? So there are those codes or principles guiding interactions in an organization. So they are written down rules, they are guidelines, they are like a handbook that is handed over to employees, even in the time of digitalization, that it's usually soft copy and stuff like that, but they're still like employee guidelines and handbook of working in organization A. And you notice that if you sample three organizations, they are usually the same, but just with different terminologies, right? But they all mean the same thing. So they are set up for employees by the organization, the HRO. This is like the organization's mission, this is their vision, this is their values, their code of conduct. Their code of conduct enforces or ensures that every employee they get into the company works in line to achieve their mission, understands their vision, and lives within this context of the company's values and principles. So they also guide conduct and the decision-making process in the company. So what's the importance of workplace ethics, literally? So it helps company growth, it helps employee growth. How does it do this, right? So as an employee, you know that a company is zero without its employees, the business partners, the collaborators, the communities, the customers, the environment, and the team members, right? So a company is just a building without all of these interacting forces. So workplace ethics would not thrive if there are no employees in that company. And if the employees are not working in line or in tune with the code of conduct of that company, there will be no customers, there will be no clients, there will be no partners working with that company. So invariably, there will be no company. So a company cannot move without its employees, and an employee cannot really have accelerated career growth without its company. So you see that there's this interaction between the company and the employee as relates to acceleration in growth. So how does workplace ethics help company growth? As an employee, you are the ambassador of the company. If you're doing the right thing in line with the values of the company, you get more customers coming in, you get more partners, right? But imagine an employee being disrespectful to clients, which is not in line with the company's workplace ethics. You realize that you have a lot of less people coming into the company also. So how does workplace ethics help employee growth? You're learning, right? You as a human, it's innate that we move, which is one of the characteristics of the human being, movement. And this is not just or growth, right? Movement and growth. So this is not just what's that word now? Fixated on physically walking or growing up. So you will move definitely from company A to company B at some point, even if you accept you're the owner or co-founder of that. Even as a co-founder, sometimes you can be like, oh, I want to sell out my shares and move on to do something bigger. So we actually get tired and move. So if you don't drive well or thrive well with the or understand the workplace ethics of company A, how then do you apply such transferable skills to company B, which is gonna like almost be the same thing, but just different values, different terminologies. So workplace ethics helps employees also grow because you're gonna also be working with team members, collaborating and all of that. Now, it also improves workplace culture. If every employee understands the place of the workplace ethics, and then the company also understands its place in the workplace ethics, you understand that that company workplace culture will be a very positive one. Like we've been hearing recently in the tech industry how there's been a lot of buzzwords, permit me to use that word, buzzwords in so many tech startups and all of that stuff, and it's all centered around workplace ethics and company culture. So I'm not going to dwell so much on the buzzwords that's happening in other companies. So we're going to look at how does this improve workplace culture. If the company keeps to its obligation and the employees keep to their obligation, you see that there's going to be a lot of thrive happening in that place. In as much as I try as much as possible to be careful how we use the word family when it comes to work, right? But to some extent, that's going to be your work family because you have this happiness whenever you want to go into the office to work because you want to meet with people, you want to carry out your duties, you want to put in your own quota to ensure that this place where you are working currently grows and moves up because as a company grows, you grow too. So if the work culture is improved, you realize that as the company is accelerating, the employees are also accelerating. But in a negative workplace culture, you realize that if the company is accelerating, its employees are not accelerating, so they're more or less like decelerating, right? So it also helps with streamlined decision making. These are, since workplace ethics are rules that are put down on paper, it helps the employers or the managers or the key decision makers to ensure that any decision they are making based on whatever happens within the society, that work society, is streamlined. You don't go above, you don't go beyond, or you don't go below the written down rules and regulations when it comes to decision making. Ease of referability for employees. An employee I
I think you paused for a bit.
okay, but can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Everything is
Great.
okay. Everything's good.
All right, okay. So I was talking about ease of referability for employees. It's easy for an employer to refer someone who has a good standing, a good workplace culture, a good working culture, ethics when the person is moving to a new place. And it's important to note that most new companies you move to do not really ask you to put down names of referees from your former company. They just ask for you to put down the name of the former company, or they don't even need you to put that down, right? Because every information is on the internet right now. So far as you have that company in your CV, they will send out referral forms to those company members to fill, to know if they should employ you or not. And that's why sometimes you realize that most people, HR doesn't get back to them. Because if HR should really get back to some people and tell them why they cannot employ them or why they cannot move further with their applications, right? I'm not throwing away other things that could happen. But when you imagine you've gone through all of the processes, done all the interviews, and you're very sure you're gonna get this gig, and then somehow it doesn't just happen. If you really dig deep very well, look at it, it's a referral system. I'm not disputing the fact that some previous employers can be terrible people, especially when you are the way you left or something, right? So, but if all things being equal, if you're leaving a company that has a good workplace culture, and you are a terrible employee, nobody is going to be referring you to another person for you to go there and spoil how things also was or how things are in that particular company. So the last one is improved public satisfaction. You know, like I earlier said, a company is nobody without its environment, its community, its customers, its investors, and its employees. So a company that is thriving, has good workplace ethics, is the most likely to be talked about in the community, is the most likely to be talked about in the public. And you see a lot of people wanting to understand, okay, what is it that this company A is doing that everyone keeps talking good about them? What is it that this company is doing that their employees are always talking about them? You see a lot of people wanting to get into that company. Nobody wants to stay in a toxic environment, right? So this a good workplace ethics helps improve public satisfaction. Also in the way they treat their employees, the way they treat their clients, their customers, the way they carry out their services, ensuring that it gets down to they pay a lot of attention to details, down to the nitty-gritty of everything that they are working on. So all of this is embedded in the workplace ethics, how we work, how we serve our clients, how we attend to our communities, our corporate social responsibilities, how we work with our employees, interacting with our employees. So all of these are part of the workplace ethics guidelines and documents. Okay, so we're going to move straight to contributors to workplace ethics. And like I had earlier explained, I divided into the company and the organization and the employees. So how does the organization contribute to workplace ethics? First of all, they provide a guideline, right? Where everything that the organization is all about is put in place in that guideline. It has to be simple and easy to comprehend, applicable to the entire organization and all personnel. What this means is that nobody is that sacrificial lamb and nobody is that untouchable angel. So it applies to everybody in the company. Be you the CEO, the COO, the CTO, the CFO, all the OOOs, the managers, the supervisors, the interns, the associates, the corpers, whoever you are, the graduate assistants and all of that stuff, it's applicable to everybody, and it must be capable of accurately diagnosing problems. Now, the organization also has to make it accessible, right? What does that mean? Everyone must have it. It must be extensively advertised and available to all employees. It must be well executed and include complaints follow-up. So it's one thing to complain about bad ethical structure, and it's another thing to follow up on that complaint. So a good organization needs to ensure that they have plans for follow-up in their workplace ethics document. All right. Now, responsiveness. What does this mean? If I have to complain about a work culture, response must be punctual. That's work ethics must be responsive. It must be used by the management, and it must demonstrate outcomes. So, you know, like I think mid-year, it's mid-year, right? And most companies will be sending out their survey forms. So it has to be like, you know, they can't get to say, oh, your complaints are anonymous and stuff like that. And it will be, it's important that you give out all the information that pertains to you and how it affects your work, and it will be worked on. So it must be punctual. I don't know. I've not where I used to work, you know, we had this survey they do monthly, every 6 months, but nobody ever works on it. So it's still the same. In fact, if you report how your superior was treating you, be rest assured that you're getting triple of that treatment, right? By the time they are done with the whole managerial meetings and everything. So that was like a classical example of a toxic workplace. So it has no punitiveness. So what does this mean? If I complain in anonymity, it must remain that I complained anonymously, and there should be no retaliation. That's one thing the organization has to ensure. If not, as employees, we're scared for our jobs. We want to keep working in a place. So there's this tendency that we must keep quiet, even in the face of pain and anger. We must keep quiet because, not be me go complain, me they can't sack me. Or not be me go complain, me Oga can't say that maybe terrible person for the company. Or na me Oga go come the hate. Avoid, pardon my lingua, but I just have to bring it down home. Because that's like everyday thing. You are really being stressed by your manager. Your manager is like all out on you, and if you look very well, you're not the cause of the whole thing. But you don't want to complain because you don't want to be seen as that terrible person, because you feel your manager is the senior one, so he be your guy. Anything where Oga talk, they correct. Me, who am I? What can I do? Let me just manage, go back home, sir. Just try to do my job, maybe while I look out for other places to go to. So employees and the bosses must be safeguarded. So you see, like I said, it's a two-way thing. Remember the first part said it must be applicable to the entire organization and all personnel. And then now, it says employees and the bosses must be safeguarded. So what this means is, if the boss reports an employee to the CEO, and maybe the employees, the CEOs, whatever, right? Let's not bring in those crazy workplace stuff. And the CEO decides that, oh, you're my favorite person, I'm going to tell you the truth. Is your guy that reported you? That's like unethical behavior in a workplace. Or if an employee reports complaints about their boss's leadership style, and then the HR goes to report to the manager that, see, Clara, that your employee does not like you at all. If you see the things your employee wrote about you, that's like very, very unethical. And you all know that, at least you can attest that in some organizations, these things do happen. All right. So that breeds a very toxic workplace at the end of the day, because even if maybe the manager doesn't want to come up plain to say, I know what you did, but you can feel it from the person's actions that, since I reported this man, Wahala has tripled for me. What happened? How did he get to know about it? So the organization is supposed to ensure that they create that safe haven, while ensuring that the workplace ethics must be followed. So if there's no safe haven for anyone, nobody's going to complain about anybody or anything. Okay, so I just want to be sure that you guys are following up with me, and I'm not just talking to myself. If you have any questions, please note it down, because we have a space for questions to be asked. So what's the contributor of the employee to the workplace ethics? How do you ensure that you are working ethically in your organization? Remember, I said soft skills keeps you employed and helps you referable. Helps you to be referable when it's time to move on to greater or greener pastures or greater things, right? So the employee must build a strong emotional and social intelligence framework. This is how you can, I don't know how to explain this, right? Because this is like the best framework you need. Every other thing falls under this. So this is the best thing you need to build when you are getting into an organization, a corporate organization. You need to build a strong emotional and social intelligence framework. If you have this, you'll be able to navigate your workplace ethics easily and be the best that you have decided that you are going to be. I'm going to explain that fully later on. And the employee must believe in collaboration. You're going to be working in teams. Even if you feel you're the only person in that department for that particular moment, you're going to be working with a manager. You're going to work with every other person. Even if it's the cleaner, you're working with somebody. All right. So you need to understand and believe in collaboration, embrace equity and respect, prioritize your professionalism. Now, I'm going to take time to maybe a few minutes to talk about professionalism. Let's look at this. You're a software engineer. I'm a data analyst. You are a mobile app developer. You're a data scientist. We're all working in the same organization, and one way or the other, we actually need each other, right? Software developer, you build the software. The data that comes from it is going to come to me. I'll clean it up, push it to the data scientist, who is going to use it to create models that we can use to forecast and make sure our business model thrives better than it was before we had that data. So you need to prioritize your professionalism when working. So you don't need to come and say, oh, software, okay, let me say maybe the software was built in a way that it didn't take cognizance of some important parameters that the data analysts and data scientists are going to use. You don't need to come and start insulting the software engineer that are you not supposed to know this thing and all of that stuff. Oh no, you actually need to be professional in all of your endeavors. All right. And this shows this also falls under believing in collaboration, but I decided to bring it out because I've seen that a whole lot, where people from different technical expertise always try to chew each other up, believing one person is better than the other, when in the right sense, they all need each other, especially when they are forming that the technical team in a particular organization. So you need to understand that prioritizing professionalism helps you thrive in your workplace. And professionalism is an important aspect of workplace ethics. If you're not professional enough, then you don't need to be in a corporate setting. So you need to also seek professional development and growth. You don't need to stay redundant. So the fact that you know this aspect of your current trade or current expertise doesn't mean in the next 2 years that current thing you know is still going to be valid in the next 2 years. There's definitely going to be improvement. We can see this with examples from PowerBI. Right? Okay, let's use the whole Power Platform thing. By this time last year, you could not integrate or embed your report, a live report on PowerPoint. But as of today, you can now embed it. So if you do not seek professional development and growth, and then you need to like do a presentation, you will find yourself trying to see how you take pictures of your dashboards, then put it in your PowerPoint slide, while you can integrate your report, your dashboard into your PowerPoint, and it's still going to be interactive as if it were being presented from the Power BI services and stuff like that. So you need to seek professional development and growth. This way, you are able to become a valid contributor to the workforce and boost the values and the vision, as well as the mission of the corporate entity where you find yourself. So I'm going to talk about the ethical traits in the workplace. I mean, we don't really need to explain this in depth, right? So integrity, you need to have integrity. You need to be honest. Discipline is very important. Discipline and self-control is very important because you're going to be meeting people from different backgrounds, people from different, let's use the word background. Let's not say family, right? So people from different backgrounds, different countries, different cultures. So you need to instill a lot of discipline and self-control in yourself when you're working in an organization. You need to be fair, all right? You need to be fair in all of your dealings with people. You know, there's this statement that says that all is fair in love and war. But I mean, if you go and rat out someone for a particular mistake, you could have easily helped the person correct because you want to be seen as the good person. Is it fair? I mean, you're putting someone's job on the line. That doesn't really make any sense, right? Because even if they sack the person, they're not going to add the person's salary to yours. Neither will they give you the person's job. Okay, so you need to respect everyone, no matter the cadre that person works in. No matter the cadre that person works in. If you don't respect the gatesman or the security guy, you won't have a company to come to if they come to rob. If you don't respect the cleaner, you won't have a clean environment to sit in. Everywhere will be messy and stinky and all of that stuff. So as much respect that you give the CEO and the COO, as you should also respect the person who cleans and the person who secures the environment. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. So responsibility. So many people in the workplace don't like to take responsibility for their wrongs. They like to trade blames, especially when being put together in a team. So it's easy to say it is A that did it, is not me. Well, forgetting that in a team, they are not individuals. Your collective success is based on your grand teamwork, right? So if A is failing and you are sitting down there relaxing, it's the entire team that is failing because it is not A that is failing alone. It is the entire team that is failing. So people need to learn to take responsibility. If their team member is failing at something, it's best to be that mother eagle to shield that person, help the person to, because I mean, sometimes so many things may be happening in the minds of people that you do not know about, that you are not aware of. And they will not definitely tell you, because I mean, it's just, you guys are just acquaintances. No matter how you say this is my work friend and all of that stuff, you're just acquaintances, right? So you need to understand that people have a lot of things going on, and sometimes it affects their work. And what's the best way to help them is to be responsible for that, your team member, and ensure that you closing that gap, rather than saying, oh, why did data team, why did this analysis not come out yesterday? Oh guys, it's not me, oh, it's Tokpa that did not clean data. You know, my own is just to visualize. Oga, sorry, oh, it's not me, oh, it's that Chika that did not model data. You know, my own is just to visualize. Or Oga, sorry, the visual, you know now, she does not do very well with visuals. I mean, those things are not really, it breeds a very toxic place in a toxic trait in the workplace. So we have accountability. You need to be accountable for each other, right? Responsibility and accountability should actually go to one hand in hand. But I decided to separate it because I believe that being accountable is different from being responsible. I may be wrong, but in my own settings and in my own understanding, based on my interactions too in my office, you may not be responsible for somebody, but you can be accountable for the success of that particular thing. You may not be responsible for a task, but you can be held accountable for the success of that task. So that's the reason why I separated responsibility and accountability. So I'm going to take that again. You may not be responsible for the process or the operations of a task, but you may be accountable for the success of that task. So what does that mean? You could be the project manager for a particular task, but you may not be responsible for how the task is being carried out from the beginning of the project down to the end. You may just do oversight function, but you are accountable for that task. And you may also not be responsible for how each of the different teams under that project work, but you are accountable for how everybody works together. So that's why I decided to separate responsibility and accountability. Then the last one is professionalism and excellence. I had already explained that before. I have this mantra that in every task being given to you, it is important to put in your best, because your task speaks more of you. You know, that's why in the tech world, a lot of people say, show me your projects rather than tell me what you have done, what you can do. All right, because they want to see professionalism and excellence in what you have done or what you do. They would use that to extrapolate and say, oh, it could be a best fit. But if you tell me what you have done or what you can do, I will definitely sell myself long. I will never sell myself short, because I mean, I want to get that job. But how do you rate my professionalism and my excellence? Is in my previous task. So that's why you have a lot of companies asking for portfolios. They don't even care about CV. They just want to have your portfolios and everything. So a very important ethical trait in the workplace is professionalism and excellence. For everything you do, ensure that you put in your best, ensure that it is excellent, because your work should definitely speak more of you than you speaking more of for yourself. Okay, so that's about the ethical traits in the workplace. So now we're going to move into navigating workplace ethics. Remember, I had earlier spoken about social intelligence and emotional intelligence. So now I'm going to talk about it like briefly. Yeah, so here we are. How do I navigate workplace ethics? I narrowed it down to two things: having a good emotional intelligence and a great social intelligence. I mean, emotional quotient is actually the new intelligence quotient, right? How do you rate someone is intelligent? Is how how emotionally capable the person is in handling certain situations. So what is emotional intelligence? You understand and manage your emotions. When you understand and manage your emotions, you can actually manage other people's emotions. So that in turn enables you manage and collaborate effectively in the workplace. So if I can come to work today, no matter how sad I feel in the morning, and I can brace myself, understand my emotional needs, and then show up at work, handle myself upright, I can be able to see through everything, every display that different team members will want to put throughout that day in the office. So if I can build my emotional intelligence, I can be able to handle other people's emotions, and that way you avoid conflicts in the workplace. So what are the key elements of emotional intelligence? Self-awareness. I understand myself. So because I understand myself, I can empathize with another person. And because I can empathize with another person, I can self-regulate how I treat that person. And when I self-regulate how I treat that person, my social skills will come into play. I'll be able to interact better with the person. That way, I can also motivate the person to do better than how the person would have actually acted if, as the person gave me one bass, I gave the person those, and then there'll be workplace fights and insults being thrown at each other. So I'm going to take that again. You see the way I linked the key elements, right? First, I have to be aware of myself, my emotional need. Because I'm aware of my emotional need, I can empathize with my colleague. And if I empathize with my colleague easily, I self-regulate how I react to whatever my colleague is throwing at me. And this way, it enables me to interact properly, accurately, and ethically with my colleague, which is a social skills, and helps me motivate that person to be the best version of what the person was supposed to be, or maybe do the best thing that the person was supposed to actually do on that task that we were probably working together or in the workplace. So that's it about the key elements in emotional intelligence. So if I build my emotional intelligence, what does that mean? I'm going to work easily with everybody. I'm going to collaborate and manage everybody effectively. I will avoid workplace conflicts. I will do my time at work. And whenever it's time for me to leave the workplace, the organization, I'll live easily with a lot of accolades and people like, oh, she was the best person we ever worked with. You know, it's so sad that you have to go, in as much as some of those things could be shenanigans, but I mean, some people will be really true about what they are saying. And when it's time for you to get a referral from where you used to work, trust me, you will be shocked and marveled at how some HRs actually tell people that it was where you were working, that made us even employ you. That maybe you were not even maybe the best or stuff, but you really came in highly referred. So yeah, so you need to build your emotional intelligence. Once you build this, you'll find out that every other workplace ethical traits that you need to possess will just come into you easily. Now the next one is social intelligence. Remember here, one of the key elements of emotional intelligence, we have social skills, right? So here we have social intelligence. You need, after understanding your emotions and being able to manage the emotions of other people, you need to understand and manage your social interactions. I repeat, not everybody in the office is your friend. Mind how you speak in the office, mind how you talk in the office, because what you say and do can be used against you in front of the CEO or in front of HR. So you need to understand and manage social interactions, when to speak, when not to speak, when to act, when not to act, when to say, oh yeah, cool, when not to say, oh yeah, cool. So most of the social intelligence skills is built around communications and teamwork, right? So you need to really build these social interactions, as this really puts you out of trouble. It helps you stay out of trouble. It enables you also manage and collaborate effectively too. I mean, a mix of the emotional and social intelligence helps you manage and collaborate effectively. So you can see that some of the key elements in the emotional intelligence is still replaying here, because first you have to be aware of yourself. Self-awareness helps you manage yourself. If you can manage yourself, you can first be friends with yourself. You can first interact with yourself easily. Then you would understand how to manage your other members of your company or your colleagues socially, how to interact with them when a discussion is beginning to head towards trouble. You will be able to understand that. And your social awareness skills, when properly boosted, helps you manage relationships easily. See, it is important, I'm going to emphasize here, it is important to note that when you go into an organization, you need to understand how to manage relationships. Your HR, even if it's your friend outside the office, inside the office, your HR is your HR. You need to understand how to manage relationships in the workplace and how to manage off-workplace relationships. Even if your boss outside that place was your classmates back in secondary school and he's still your classmate, so you guys have these like inside jokes that you guys jab at each other. Once you're in the office, you need to understand that this place is an organization bounded by ethical responsibilities. So you'll be able to understand and decipher the relationships in the workplace and the relationships outside the workplace. And this will help you, again, like I said, stay out of trouble, stay employed, and also be referable. Oh, whoops, yay, conclusion. So, in conclusion of all of this stuff, I hope I wasn't so boring. Technical skills are those skills that actually help you get employed. Understanding workplace ethics keeps you employed, because understanding workplace ethics is one of those social skills that you need. Prior to this time in our CV, we used to be like social skills that you have, soft skills that you have, rather, not social skills. Soft skills that you have, you'll be all about communication skills, interpersonal relationship, teamwork, collaboration, technical writing, all of those stuff. But really now we have broken it down into one thing: workplace ethics. So those are those understanding workplace ethics keeps you employed and helps you stay referable when it's time to move on. Now, the best bet to navigating workplace ethics is, like I had said, and I'm still going to hammer it, to build your social and your emotional intelligence skills. Please, if you have any questions are the path to learning. I am open to answering such as many questions as time can allow us. And thank you for watching my slides and listening to me speak. I'm really grateful to be here. So thank you so much.
Sorry, Ojo was saying something about can't hear you speak. I think everybody could. Maybe try logging in and logging out. That should work.
Oh, okay. I think I was at the closing time when you couldn't hear me speak, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, apologies for that. But I hope you heard every other aspect. Okay, so Ifeanyi, over to you. Thank you so much.
Okay. So Ilya, thank you so much for the presentation. I learned a lot. Okay, there's a question from Brian. There's a question. You can just unmute and
Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
yes, okay.
Yeah, so my question is, let's say you're working in this organization and you've seen those red flags from your fellow employees, like you've seen that this person literally is not doesn't like me and is like cannot hold it. Like you've seen those red flags, like they are too shouting. How can you deal with that without you yourself being not putting yourself in a bad situation or not making yourself look like bad, but you deal with it like professionally? How can you advise?
Okay, so in that situation, I am all up for calling your fellow colleague aside and having a chat with that person and trying to understand. Now, at this point, when you're speaking with this person, you don't need to start asking the person, what's your problem? Is there any, why don't you like me? So you could actually look at yourself as maybe the cause of that person's hatred, because you never can tell. Maybe you came in and took a position that used to be for the person's friend. So it's just easy for the person to hate you. A situation where the person has a friend that is somewhere and maybe they just employed you because you had better skills, and then you have to be higher than that person's friend. Definitely the person may not like you, right? So it's best to call the person aside and ask questions like, is there anything I have done that informs or that is informing your actions and inactions towards me? Is there anything I could do to make things better and ensure that we work in a very collaborative manner? I'm not all up for when someone does you wrong, the first thing you rush to do is to talk to HR. No. Once you have established, that's why I said emotional and social intelligence. So once you have established this conversation with the person, spoken to the person, you may be surprised that, oh, this person may come out plain and tell you, I don't like you because of this, or I don't like you because you seem to think that you know too much. And to you, you may just be doing your thing because, you love to be excellent and all of that stuff. But to other people, you're giving bad vibes and sabi ITK vibes, or I know too much vibes. All right. So when you have that side conversations with the person, and the person says, oh, because of this, oh, I'm so sorry. Maybe I also didn't know I was treating you this way. All right. So you'll be so surprised that the conversation could go both ways. If the person comes up and say, I don't like you for the, then you can leave it out there. Then if possible, maybe move on to your line manager. If you guys are under the same team, move on to your line manager. That's how to escalate issues. if your line manager cannot handle it easily before you then bring out the workplace ethics guideline and stuff. I mean, even in the workplace ethics guidelines, there is a level of escalating issues. It's written out there in most companies, how to escalate issues from your supervisor to your line manager, from your line manager to the HR. So if you have that chart and the person doesn't seem to budge or make things any better, still making you uncomfortable in the office, then the next person to speak to is your supervisor. If you are the supervisor, the next person to speak to is the line manager. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ibilolia.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, I have a question. So I think there's one part I can't remember now. There's one part in your slide you're talking about you said for you, what you're talking about for like employee, you're talking about it being more of a social and like you being more social and that's why you kept it. I don't know if you could show your slide again. Maybe
Okay, I'm trying to do that already.
okay, so
Yeah.
yes, yes. Okay, so build social, emotional, and social intelligence framework. So how can people do that? Like, do you have any tips?
Okay, so I always say your emotional and social intelligence could also be innate and also with the people you interact with. But however, if you feel or perceive yourself to be this person that cannot handle things, that handles things emotionally, all right? Handles things emotionally. So if something is happening, the first thing that comes to your mind is attack or be defensive or cry or whatever or break down and stuff like that. My best bet is to read online. All right. There are key steps, it's already broken down here also. Right. So these are the key elements and things that you need to build up. And we are, like I said, humans are innate beings. We learn. We learn every day. It's easy for us to learn. So if you do not know yourself, you can actually try to know yourself, which is the first step, self-awareness. You can also build empathy. So if you used to be that kind of person that someone complains that, oh, I feel so terrible, to be like, me too. That's like bad vibes. So someone is telling you about their day, you're like, you're all small. If you know what happened to me, sometimes that's like bad vibes, right? We see it as normal gist and stuff like that. But at that point when the person is telling you that, the person just wants you to put yourself in their shoes. So you can build empathy. So you can ask your friends, all right? Be like, guy, when they tell me something about yourself, how I they react to them? Or when you tell me stuff about yourself, how do I react to it? Your friends will tell you, sometimes you just throw it off. Some people may tell you, oh, you don't like to listen to us. You always like to interrupt with your own problems and stuff like that. So there are different ways you can actually build these things, either by learning about yourself from people. It will help you build yourself, or you can also read up online to help you build yourself, because like I said, or maybe I didn't say it here, but it's common knowledge that the internet is the greatest provider of knowledge and information right now. So there are resources to help you build your emotional intelligence. You can take an emotional intelligence test. Okay, so you can actually take an emotional intelligence test, be truthful in answering those tests questions, and you see yourself, understand who you really are. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, that answers my questions. Thank you so much.
All right, welcome.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, if it's an answer of any questions, so I've for first timers that come to speak at the community, we usually ask them two questions. So the first question is how did you get started in data analysis? So just tell us a bit about your journey, and again, especially a bit about your journey, especially even in the health tech industry. I think you're the only data analyst I actually know in that industry.
Okay, so I actually worked. I'm a pharmacist, right? And I
Yes.
worked in the community pharmacy for 2 years before moving on to the hospital pharmacy, where I worked for 3 years. So that's like the greatest part of my pharmacy practice. While working in the hospital pharmacy, I realized that that's one place where data doesn't get gathered, or data is not collated and analyzed to help and inform decision making. So we do a lot of guesstimates, understanding how many patients we saw per day, how many patients we saw per week, and stuff like that. So there was a time that we had a new boss coming to the office, and she needed us to bid for something, and we didn't have accurate data. So that was what informed me in doing my first Excel analysis. So imagine carrying patient files and folders from, even before I started working there, from 2016 down to 2018, and imputing them yourself based on the parameters she wants us to show into Excel document. Then you now do the analysis. At that time, I didn't even know what PowerBI was. I didn't even know what data analysis was. It was like I was shut off from the internet. So I was just like away from things that were happening in the world. So that was how my journey into data analysis started in 2018. Then I left it for a while, went to do my master's. Then came back again, realized that during my master's, there was still no data based on what I wanted to work on. So like, this data thing that is not even available in the healthcare sector, what's going on exactly? So I decided to go into data analysis. 6 months down the line, I got a job in a health tech company. I'm glad to say that we are creating a database that would help with decision making in not just Nigeria, but Africa at large. So we're informing that data culture. And in this context, when I say data culture, I'm not talking about the context where you're looking at data governance and all of that stuff within the company, but I'm talking about it within the nation, within the continent. So that's how I got into data analytics and landed in the healthcare. I always knew I wanted to go into the health tech industry. So when I was seeing all those adverts for come and intern in fintech, I'm like, not interested. Come and intern here, not interested. But landed my first role in the health tech industry.
That's good, because I think you're doing data analysis, I know, in the health tech industry at the moment.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Funny enough, that's what like some people have been saying. But there's some other person now. She's not really. We just employed her anyway. So, but she's not really out there on social media. She's also a pharmacist too.
Then the second question is, so what advice do you have for those starting out? So for newbies, those that want to get started in data analysis, does any piece of advice on how they can progress in their career-wise?
Okay, so the first step is understand yourself. You know, there's this statement that says, "Man, know thyself," right? I think it's a biblical statement. So, man, know thyself. Understand yourself. Is this thing for you? Because if it is not for you, you run away. Because you know, when you start up with the simple things. Then when you get to the hard things of data analysis journey, I can tell you for sure, for free on Tuesday last week, I had to clean a data set, model the data set, and it took me 12 hours plus in between, like 12 hours plus, and I needed to
I think I said the tweets.
yeah, Benny, you saw it, like you saw the before how I looked in the morning when I got to the office, how I looked leaving the office, like I literally held my wig on my hand going back to the hotel and everything. So if you know you cannot handle it, look for the one that it is gonna be easy for you, because you know because there's this force coming up with data analysis. The community is really large and everything. So everybody believes that now they're the money deal, all the big people are there, after all they're talking about it. You don't really want to know yourself before you jump into it. If you don't know yourself before you jump into it, I bet you'll be jumping out faster than you even jumped into it. But however, once you know yourself, find the community. You already have one here, and I mean, I'm one of the I could just say maybe a community. Let me not even say I'm one of the community newbies too, right? Because I mean, I still have them, my Oga them, like Moses, David, Ola, and the rest of them. So there are many. So I'm like the community newbie there. Ben is also one of our big organs when we want to do content writing based on our dashboard, technical report writing, and everything. We have Benny to come and help of that stuff. So you found your community, so that's great. Now the next step is learn Excel. I will scream it, drum it in your ears. Learn Excel. If you leave Excel, you will come back and meet Excel. When you're done learning Excel, learn a visualization tool. So if you want to choose Power BI, it's up to you. If you want to choose Tableau, it's up to you. But I'll tell you to choose Power BI for enterprise sake. And as you go further, you understand what I mean by for enterprise solutions sake. Then you learn SQL, because when you understand a spreadsheet or a worksheet, when you understand a spreadsheet or a worksheet, the next thing you need to understand is a visualization tool. Because one of the first sources of data connection is an Excel sheet. Even your database, SQL database, the data will first be prepared in Excel before it is moved to the database for storage. Then you now use SQL to query it. And you know that some sheets have SQL enabled functions. You know, Google Sheets, Excel, Microsoft Excel has SQL enabled functions that you can also use there. So you see where you will still be thrown back. So some companies you go to, they are working with Microsoft 365. Some companies you go to is Google, you're gonna Google Workplace, you're gonna be working with and stuff like that. You find yourself doing a lot of stuff on Excel, so you must learn Excel. Then you learn a visualization tool, Power BI or Tableau. There are so many shiny tools. There's Power BI, there's Tableau, there's Astrato, there's Benny, I'm still trying to learn my Astrato. There's Metabase, there's QLeak, there's Google Data Studio. There are many, right? So, but just pick the one that is relevant right now in the society, and you know it's between Power BI and Tableau. Very few companies use Metabase. That's because the Metabase is their data storage solution and all of that stuff. So Metabase offers you visualization and an SQL function together. Then when you're done with SQL, if you like, if you may, if you want to move into data science after a while, then you can pick up Python. So do not do the reverse. As a data analyst, you don't need Python for any reason, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of visualizations. You're not going to be doing so much with Python. But once you start learning Python, then know fully well that you want to start moving into training algorithms, training models, test and train and all of that stuff for data science, predictive analytics and all of that stuff. So that's when you can now move down to Python. So in this order, man, know thyself, join a community, learn Excel, learn a visualization, learn SQL, then move down to Python. So that's a proven path that I have seen work for a lot of people. If you ask, they will tell you this pathway has actually worked for us. But if you decide to jump the gun, you come back to where you left to learn from there. So that's it for me, or from me rather.
Thank you so much for that advice. Are there any other questions?
Good evening, Ibilolia. Thank you so much for this beautiful session. I really enjoyed it. And my key takeout from all you said is about our workplace ethic. And irrespective of the relationship we have with our colleagues or our bosses, we should always remain professional. And I'm really gonna take that and stick to it. And also your advice on knowing thyself is very, very important in our lives. This will help us in making key decisions on what exactly we want to achieve, what we want to do in our career, in every other aspect of our life. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much, Jane.
So so thanks so much. And in that sort of a question, we have another session which is going to take place in an hour time.
Please hold on. Is Victor Momo on this group? On this?
Yes.
Is it the Victor Momo I know about? Like our Oga Victor Momo?
Yes, it's our Oga Victor Momo.
Give honor to whom honor is due. Our Excel daddy is here. Good evening, sir. Say, good evening.
He says that. Yeah, yes, answered.
Hi, good evening.
You didn't tell me my Oga was here now. Should have given honor to whom honor is due since, you know. Yeah, you know, I'm an Ishan wife, so I need to greet my Oga, you know, before they send me out of the house. All right, that's just by the side. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Fai, for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited about it.
Thanks so much for accepting. Yeah, Victor is here. Victor is working on this session. We also have another session in an 1 hour time. It's a Power BI session. We'll be talking about Dynamics 365. but how to use it in collaboration with Power Platform. And our speaker is going to be one of Microsoft MVPs, Alice. So you can RSVP for this session, and I'll see you by 6 o'clock. And again, thanks so much, Ibilolia.
All right, nice to have you guys here. So bye, everyone.
All right. So I'm ending the